Hey there, welcome to another episode of Sass and Surrender. I am Drew Spanks on Bet or Drew,
And I fly away on FetLife or fly.
and today we are talking about aftercare. So aftercare after a spanking.
Yes. So aftercare is, I mean, there's lots of different ways you could do it, but basically it's kind of like it's what it sounds like. You're taking care of the bottom and helping them kind of, come down from the scene and process and return to, you know, earth, so to speak, in
Right,
a way that isn't, shocking to the system.
right. And everybody's kind of different with what they like, and what they don't like, and what they need.
Yeah, I see a lot of really different, just like at the parties and stuff. A lot of people like really like to be all like wrapped up in cozy blankets and really snuggling and processing.
And
You
then some, like you, don't need anything. They just move on to the next.
yeah, for me, well, I think for me it's different. Like for me, aftercare, probably I don't need aftercare. I don't need aftercare. Probably I would say with like casual play,
Uh-huh.
because like feel like the need to be like snuggling or whatever. Like hugs are nice, cuddles are nice a little bit.
Hmm.
I usually like lotion rubbed on my butt after spanking, but that has a lot to do with my skin
Right,
and taking care of my skin. But I mean, with you, it's different because we're in a relationship. So,
right.
but I would still say, I mean, honestly, if it was like a punishment or something, I'd need a lot more snuggles. But I guess even with you for the most part, unless we're really like pushing my limits. See, I'm pretty
Yeah.
good after a minute or two.
Yeah, I would say it's like when we push your limits, like you definitely need more like cuddles, snuggles, like comfort,
Hmm.
like letting you know that spanking's over and I love
Yeah,
you and I'm still here and like those kind of things. Like, so yeah, it's like so that's kind of like your aftercare, like what you need, which is not as much, but some depending on the scene.
yeah, yeah. Especially like certainly at parties and stuff, and like I said, with casual play, like I don't really feel like I need a lot. But I think I'm probably a little outside of the
The norm.
the norm with that. I
Yeah,
think other people, I mean, from what I've seen, even at parties, like so a lot of people need more time to process
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, I agree. I would say like for me, like aftercare, I don't think I also don't think I need as much personally. Like at
Yeah.
a top, like I don't think I just need, and not all tops are like this, but I just don't think I need as much aftercare.
Yes, and that's a good point. As a top, like we talk a lot about, you know, aftercare for the sub and sub drop, which we'll get into in a minute, but we don't really talk about people don't talk about as much like tops need that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've played with like a couple people that have been more snuggly than I'm like, okay, I guess we can snuggle. I was like, I'm good, but I guess if you want,
yeah,
like that, they need that too because you're still hurting the person even if it's something you're into. So I think they need a little more a little reassurance that,
yeah,
all is well and
yeah.
we're
I
still friends or we still love each other or whatever.
I would say too, like maybe like when we go to like spanking, like national spanking parties, like it changes for me too, like from my top like perspective of what I need in aftercare, like we were talking about having our hotel room and stuff, like when we go to Gasp this year and like having it's just nice to have a spot that we can come back to, kind of come down from the scenes we're doing
Yeah.
and things like that.
And have our own kind of choir
Hmm.
space. Yeah, for sure.
And like I think like after too like some of those long weekends and stuff of spanking, like it's really nice to like I feel like I definitely need that time, that one-on-one time with you. I
Yeah.
think it was last year. Like we didn't have you.
No.
You flew back, and
Yeah,
I
early.
and
And
I
then
stayed
you,
up there. I drove back,
yeah,
and like it was like hard driving back from that. And I think it was because I needed that one-on-one time to be able to like connection there where we could
yeah,
have
because we
so
don't,
much time.
that's another thing. So before we get into us and our dropping. So sub drop or top drop is, when you're playing impact play, there's a lot of endorphins and serotonin in your brain. And so like there is an actual, you know, chemical imbalance that comes down from kind of like when you do a drug and you come down from being high, it's a similar thing. So sub drop or top drop is, a lot of people get depressed and go through, a lot of emotions and stuff and kind of come down from that. And so generally I would say, I mean, I don't want to speak for you too much, but it doesn't seem like you've generally dropped too bad. So for me, I think dropping comes more with like national parties or weekends that we do your parties where it's
Hmm.
beyond, like our average play where we're playing with a lot of different people or like I dropped pretty hard off the gas. But that was I mean, it was our first national party, so it made it even more,
Yeah.
all that higher of an experience because it was so exciting. But yeah, I don't think I drop too much unless I'm playing really heavily. I guess I do more now, like, because it's also hard when you leave, so that's
Oh
different
yeah.
too, like, because we miss each other and stuff. But
Yeah. That's not
um,
necessarily from like I guess a
I think it's a little bit of both.
little bit of
I
it.
think it affects it a little bit. Yeah. I think I tend to drop more yeah, like, because we've had weekends where we've played really hard and then I'll drop a little bit, which is surprising to me that I drop at all because I hadn't really a lot. And I think that comes from just that we're not able to be together um,
Well, it
for that.
probably helps too, like, because like on weekends, since I kind of spend about a week with her and then a week away, it probably helps a little bit that I'm here that full week. So, you know, we're
Yes.
able to play on the weekends. Then we both have jobs and work, during the week. But every night we're snuggled up next to each other. And
Right. So there's time to adjust. Yeah, it was definitely much more when we first started hanging out. I know there were a couple times that you came down. I think one of the times was after gas, but we were both really graphing bad. And you came down like an extra weekend, even like it was just a couple hours.
oh yeah,
Because it wasn't one of your normal weekends to be able to be down here
yeah.
that we both have had hard times getting through. So I think for me, like that's really more like where I need aftercare. And I think that's another thing that people don't really think about or discuss or negotiate. Like people will negotiate their immediate aftercare. Like I need water and I want a blanket or I want this. But, I don't think people really talk about like longer term aftercare, which for me is I would say what I need more because, you know, I don't I don't drop that often, but that having that, your top check in on you and, make sure that you're doing okay. Well, I think that's just like kind of a job as a top personally, but
Hmm.
uh, if,
Right.
if you just beat someone a bunch, you should, check on them for a couple days, make sure they're doing fine.
Yeah.
But
Especially if it was like really hard or like emotional, like spanking or something like that. Like, yeah, you should definitely be checking in on them. I wouldn't say like everybody like at the parties. Like, I wouldn't say I would check in on like anyone that you spank. Because like I've had people approach me and like they're like, "Hey, can you give me like 10 swats with a rubber strap?"
yeah, that's
Something like
true.
that. Like I'm not normally checking in with them to make sure that they were okay, like from that time. But anyone that I have a longer scene with,
Yeah.
or more of like a emotional, personal, like you know, experience with, I'm gonna check in on those people the next day and make sure they're okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like you said, it's different when they're like, "Oh, hey, let me touch this implement a little bit or whatever."
Yeah.
than having like a real scene for sure. But yeah, I think for me, I would say like that's really more what I need is the longer term, like when drop hits me and stuff like that, as opposed to like immediate aftercare other than lotion,
Yeah, lots of wish.
lots of lotion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I don't know, like I think like just time and space for myself. I need that, but then to know that somebody else is available, like when I draw,
Yeah,
uh, not necessarily that I'm like taking advantage of that person, like with hitting them up all the time or whatever, but just knowing that they're there and like I can talk to them. But I think just time, like peace and quiet to reset is like super important for me.
yeah, that's usually, especially at parties when I'm kind of like bouncing around. Like I usually go outside and chill for a minute and get some fresh air and take some quiet time away from everybody. That helps me a lot aftercare wise.
Mm.
I think it's just kind of having some time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, oh, there was something I was going to say about aftercare and something I was going to tell people. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So, pointers for dealing with your own drop when, you are not able to see your partner. I think some big things that people do, make sure you're getting plenty of water and plenty of sleep. Personally, I think chocolate is helpful for drop, much like it is helpful for me when I'm, having the time of the month that you need chocolate.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like any day of the week,
That
just
too.
that you want
And it's just
chocolate
like
always,
makes everything better.
constantly wanting
But
chocolate.
no, I think it's like a hormone thing for ladies. I really do. Yeah, I usually want chocolate when I'm dropping. And then, I mean, I personally don't journal, but I've heard that a lot of people find that very helpful. Well, I guess I do. Like, I don't journal, but I have written reflections on certain scenes or gasps or things
Oh
like
yeah.
that, even though it's not something I do regularly. It's helpful to kind of process, especially like gas was such a whirlwind of like we were so busy. So I felt like that really, it was nice to be able to kind of process that and get all those experiences down. And I definitely think that helped with, kind of the downer feeling I had about that experience ending. And then just always like reach out to your friends, if you're on FET, there are like people that I don't even really know that well that like if I posted a status about dropping or something like that, like I know that I would get comments and people would, like send hugs or like message me if you need to, and I just think like
Yeah. Reach out to the
reaching
community.
out to oh, excuse me, reaching out to the community, you'll find like I feel like surprisingly like it's surprising how many people will like jump in and be supportive and offer to be there to talk to you or whatever. Like I said, even people that I don't really know that well or like haven't even met.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think also the other thing is like, so like tops, ask your bottoms what they need for aftercare because they're the best resource. And then bottoms, don't be afraid to like tell your tops what you need because it's not the same for everybody. And you don't know unless you ask, and they don't know unless you tell. So it's like the tops are not mind readers when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing that you really do need to discuss that before seeing and before you play with people.
Yeah,
That is maybe not one of the most obvious things that, obviously people talk about limits or like where they're okay being hit or, whatever. But I think really getting into aftercare, that it's equally important and probably people don't really think of that as much. And I know like
yeah,
I'm guilty of that because especially when I first got into the scene and because I'm not someone who normally needs a ton of aftercare that I know, like, initially when people would ask me that, I'm just like, "I don't know, like,
yeah,
whatever.
whatever.
Fist bump." Like, I'm
Yeah,
good, deuces. But, it took me some time to learn that I do need at least a little bit, and for me, it's more of the longer term reassurance when I'm coming down or dropping or whatever, and being able to reach out and the emotional aftercare, I would say, as opposed to, like, that instant aftercare, which is something that I've learned along my kink journey.
Yeah. Well, and I think it means a lot too. Like, even if they say, "Oh, I don't need anything," or like you would say that, like, "I don't really need aftercare or this or that," still reach out to them. I think it's important to reach out and just be like, "Hey, are you okay? How's your butt?" It can be snarky and funny and silly and stuff, but it. I think any person, likes to feel like they're cared for in that situation. Like, and I think
Yeah, top or bottom.
right. Same. Yeah, I can go for either. Because, tops hurt their hands sometimes.
Oh, please.
It's a real thing.
Yeah,
People don't think about
it's
the
rough.
hurt hands.
It's real rough.
It's real rough.
Actually, someone posted a status after gas that pointed out, which I thought was a really good point, that particularly if you're a switch, they were like, reach out to your top friends too, especially if they're a switch because they're dealing with dropping from both sides of the coin. I
Never
was
thought
like,
about
I
that.
never thought about that. Like, that's got to be like, especially if you play with a switch but don't switch with them.
Hmm.
Like, if you play with them just as a top, you don't really think of that. And I'm like, oh, so after gas, when I saw it on that, I was like, I never really thought about that, but that's going to be really rough, especially when you have. I mean, I switch occasionally, but not to the point where I feel like I'd ever have top drop. But I'm sure they're similar, but not exactly the same type of feeling. So that's got to be an emotional roller coaster for sure.
True. And I don't even really cover this in this podcast. We're assuming you guys know what all these things mean. But like top is like someone who spanks and dominates the
Bottom,
bottom, and the bottom is the one who gets spanked. And then a
switch,
switch is someone who does both,
right.
and it's also an implement. So not to be confusing, but like yeah, so someone that does both, so has a little bit of each of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never thought about that. That it could be difficult for somebody who switches. They
Yeah.
could be dealing with a lot of different emotions and hmm,
But
yeah,
if you need people, definitely always reach out to the community. That to me
yeah,
has always been, I found very helpful when we can't be together and the times I'm
yeah,
dropping. Well, I'm obviously reaching out to you, but
yeah, of course,
because it's nice. I feel like you connect with people who have experienced that and
yeah,
they can give you real, like they really empathize as opposed to people obviously in outside. I have friends that are vanilla that I can talk to, but I don't really,
right.
you know,
Can't say I got spanked this weekend.
well, no, even the ones
So
that I can talk to about that, if I'm like, yeah, I'm having drop, like they don't get that.
I don't know what that means.
Right. So, it's better when you have people that you can reach out that have been there and understand it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like even side of like aftercare and all that, like just reach out to the community, like in general. Like when you're feeling anything or like there's friends and there's people that care.
Yeah.
That they don't know you're going through something or you're needing that support, they can't support you. So you gotta like reach out and be like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going through this.
And I feel like particularly in the Spango community, you know, I feel like most people are genuine and down to earth and
If they're not, you'll be able to tell.
well, yeah, that's true.
Look
Very
at their
quick.
profile. Yeah. But you're right. I think most that's why I always said like too, like at the parties, like I had like a moment where I was thinking, I was like, man, we really like you almost need security at these parties and this and that. And then I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, well, I mean, I feel like any of the tops would jump in to protect
Mhm.
anyone, and the bottoms if anything were to happen.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of like care that comes from just this community as a in general,
Yeah, for sure.
and something that should be looked past. But you know, I think a big message on this like aftercare thing is you have to, you know, vocalize it, be a voice for yourself, and then tops, well, for the bottoms, I'm saying, need to
Yeah.
vocalize it, and tops need to be proactive too, and just having the conversations. Because if you don't have the conversation, you don't have the knowledge, and you don't know what to do, and you could end up hurting somebody, or hurting the feelings and not even knowing it.
Mhm.
And if they didn't communicate it, I don't know, it could just send mixed signals, or bad feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, it's just I think this has come naturally. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be something you overthink or whatever, but like, I've always just wanted to check in with somebody, the next day.
Well, you're a caring person then.
Yeah, true. I care. So I guess it's different if somebody doesn't care.
Yeah, it is. I've been there.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
yeah, it is different.
Well, and people could have different things that cause that, like where they're
Yeah,
not capable of this aftercare. So maybe it's something you have to
yeah,
remind them of, or remind them that you need.
yeah. And like, yeah, I guess the lesson of today is equally as important as all your other negotiations. So
It
make
is.
sure it is discussed
Yeah.
right along with safe words and limits and all those things.
Even if you think you don't need it.
Yeah, even if you're like me and you're like, I don't know, try to think about, how you would feel, or at least talk about some things that you might be open to, or, let them know that you might need to play it by ear because you've never really had an intense scene and you don't really know. So that's
Yeah.
okay to say too.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That is okay to say. Yeah. I've rarely met people that don't have something that they need
Mm,
or want for aftercare. It's always different. Everybody's different on what they need, or what limits they have, or whatever. But everybody needs something. So, like, just keep that in mind. Like,
mm.
even the people that say they don't need anything, like,
At least need
need
a little
something,
reassurance. Yeah,
something, a little something,
a
something.
little something, something.
Yeah, they always need something. So, and I think it's a good thing. So it's not anything to, and I mean, and I guess that's another thing you could say, like, because some people might need something that you can't get them, and you just have to be upfront with them.
Yeah,
That,
that's true.
you know, like, if you're like sexually monogamous, like we are, like that person needs sex afterwards. You have to be able to say, I can't provide that to you.
Yeah,
So there can still be boundaries in the aftercare
for sure.
side of things. So something to
Food for thought.
keep for thought, food for thought. So that's our aftercare
Aftercare podcast.
episode. We it's important. It's important that I think it's something that's overlooked a lot of the times, and
Yeah, it really is.
that's why
So
we thought we
make
should
sure that comes up in your communication and negotiation.
negotiation. Yeah, for sure. Like, make sure, and like I said, best thing you can do is communicate,
Yep,
because no one's gonna know unless you tell them, right?
right. All right.
Well,
Well,
we will see you next time, and have another exciting topic in the world of spanking that we come up with. So we are off, and we will talk to you later. Thank you so much for listening to us babble on about this thing we absolutely love. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast, and tell your Spanko friends to listen. Maybe your vanilla friends too.
all
I don't know. They might be shocked and have no idea what we're talking about.
right.
But anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
See ya.